Now, in speaking part 1, you will have to answer questions on 3 different topics. The first topic is always work, study, or home. The second topic will be a random topic, so it could be anything. It could be trees, it could be water, it could be pens and pencils. And the third topic is also a random topic, so it could be anything. For the first topic, you will always get 3 to 4 questions. And then for the second topic and the third topic, you will get 4 questions that you need to answer. Do you work or are you a student? Now, a lot of people who take IELTS would just say something like, I work or I am a student. But this is a lower level answer. So let's have a look at a higher level, full and complete answer. I am currently employed in the IT field, working as a software developer. So look how nice and professional that is. Instead of saying, I work as a software developer, we've given a more professional answer. And we are using higher level vocabulary as well. For example, employed. If you're employed, that means you have a job. So the next thing we should probably talk about is our responsibilities. My responsibilities include designing and maintaining websites, as well as troubleshooting technical issues for clients. So again, a really nice, simple, yet effective sentence to talk about our responsibilities. And note here, when we are talking about responsibilities like this, we use verb ing. So we say designing, maintaining, troubleshooting. A lot of students would just use verb 1. So for example, design, maintain, troubleshoot. Well, no, that's not correct. When you're talking about your responsibilities like this, you need to use a verb ing. Now let's look at the next sentence, which we can use to finish off the answer. I really enjoy the work because it's challenging and rewarding, and I don't have any plans to change jobs in the near future. So to finish off, we've used a little bit more nice vocabulary. We've said challenging, which means hard or difficult. And we've said rewarding. If something is rewarding, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you have achieved something. And if you look at this answer, you'll see that it's probably around 15 to 20 seconds. And that is the perfect length for when you're answering questions in part 1. You should not have short answers like I work or I study. You should always expand. You should always give more information. And this is going to give you the best chance to show the examiner that you have a higher level of grammar and vocabulary. So we just looked at an answer for do you work or study, but now let's break it down and have a look at a formula or a structure you can use to answer this type of question. The first thing you can say is, I'm currently employed in the something field as a something. The second thing you can say is, my responsibilities include plus verb ing. The next thing you can talk about is how you feel about your job. And you could say something positive or you could say something negative. It's really up to you. And finally, to finish off the answer, you can talk about the future. So let's quickly look at that answer one more time. So I'm currently employed in the IT field, working as a software developer. This is step 1. My responsibilities include ... This is step 2. I really enjoy the work. ... This is step 3. This is how we feel. And then finally, we talk about the future. I don't have any plans to change jobs. ... So let's look at another example using this structure. I am currently employed in the education field as an English teacher. So this is the first step. Now we need to talk about our responsibilities. My responsibilities include preparing. Look how we've got that verb ing. Lesson plans, teaching grammar, and helping students improve their reading and writing skills. Now we need to say how we feel. I really enjoy the work because it's fulfilling to see my students make progress. And then finally, we need to talk about the future. And although I enjoy the job, I'm planning to change roles in the near future. So look at this beautiful answer. It is not too long, not too short. It's got some nice grammar. And it's got some higher level vocabulary, which I have put in the bold text. Now, before we have a look at the other questions, I just want to show you some phrases and some vocabulary that you can use to talk about work. The first one is, I've been working there for years or months. So you can obviously use this one to talk about how long you've been working in a certain place or at a certain position. So for example, I've been working there for almost 3 years. Note the grammar. I've been working. So we've got I have been, and then we've got a verb ing. That's really, really important. And also listen to the pronunciation. I've been. I've been. I've been working there for almost 3 years. If you want to sound like a native speaker, don't say been, say been. I've been. Now here's another example. I've been working there for 6 months. Again, I've been. I've been working there for 6 months, and during that time, I've already learned a lot about ... This is just an example of how you can always extend your answers. So you don't just have to stop after you say 3 years or 6 months. No, you can always continue. So you could say and, or you could say which. Let's have a look at phrase 2 now. This second phrase is a typical day at work includes. Typical is a great word to use instead of normal. So you could say something like, a typical day at work includes attending team meetings, managing client projects, and responding to emails. Now have a look at the grammar. After we have said includes, we have used verb ings, attending, managing, responding. It's just like when we talked about our responsibilities. We need to use verb ings. Here's another example. A typical day at work includes designing campaigns and collaborating with the marketing team. And just like with the previous phrase, you could say and, or you could say which, or another word at the end of the sentence to give more information. Phrase 3. Eventually, I'd like to... The word eventually is used to talk about some time in the future. So it could be 1 month into the future. It could be 1 year into the future. So this is a great phrase to use to talk about what you might want to do sometime in the future. So for example, eventually I'd like to move into a leadership role where I can manage a team. Eventually, I'd like to gain enough experience to transition into a position with better remuneration. So transition is a great word which means change, and remuneration is a higher level word to mean salary. So it's talking about how much money you get paid per month. Phrase 4. Down the line, I may consider... Down the line just means in the future. Again, it could be any time in the future, and you don't have to say I may consider. You could just say down the line and then give more information, but you can also say I may consider. If you consider something, that means you think about doing it. So let's have a look at an example. Down the line, I may consider leaving this job if I find something that better matches my interests and goals. So in simple words, this just means in the future, I may think about leaving this job if... Down the line, I'm hoping to start my own business and be my own boss. Again, we're saying sometime in the future, I'm hoping to... Phrase 5. We've had a look at some phrases to talk about how long you've been working in a position, what your normal day is like, and how to talk about the future. Now let's have a look at a phrase you can use to talk about some things that you don't like about your position. Here it is. To be honest, one drawback of my position is... Drawback is another way to say negative or disadvantage. So it's an example of higher level vocabulary. So here's an example. To be honest, one drawback of my position is that the workload can be overwhelming at times, especially during busy periods. So this word overwhelming means too much. So if the workload is overwhelming, there's too much and you just don't know how to complete all of your tasks in time. And note here that after we have said times, we've had a little pause and then we've given more information. We've said especially during busy periods. This is a great habit to get into. Always give more information at the end of a sentence if you can. Don't just stop, because if you make longer, more complex sentences, this is going to improve your grammar score when you're speaking. And here's the second example. To be honest, one drawback of my position is that there aren't many opportunities for advancement. So this simply means that there aren't many opportunities to get promoted or to get a better position or to earn more money. So this is a great phrase to use when you want to talk about something that you're not really happy with in your job. The second question was, how do you normally travel to work? So it seems like a pretty simple question, but let's have a look at an example of a higher level answer. I normally commute to my place of employment by bus, as it's the most convenient option for me. So look at that, already in the first sentence, we are using higher level vocabulary. We've got commute. Commute is another word to mean travel to and from work. Instead of saying work, we've said place of employment. And instead of just stopping after we said bus, we've got a little pause and then we say as to give more information. The journey takes approximately 30 minutes, so I usually use the time to listen to music or catch up on podcasts. So again, we've got some higher level vocabulary there, approximately, and we've got catch up on, and also we've got a longer sentence. A lot of students who are in that band 5.5 or 6 range when it comes to speaking never make longer sentences. Always try to give longer sentences where possible. And finally, I find it quite relaxing and it saves me the hassle of driving in traffic. If something is a hassle for you, it means it's a problem or an inconvenience. So look at this nice answer. It's got 3 sentences and it's probably around 15 to 20 seconds. So it's not too long and it's not too short. Let's have a look at question 3 now. This one was about the future. It was, what job would you like to do 5 years from now? So when you're answering, you need to think about your tenses. If you're talking about the future, you might need to use the future tense, or you might need to use present continuous. You might need to say, I'm going to, ... So let's have a look at a higher level answer. I'd like to have a job where I can lead a team and take on more responsibility, perhaps in a management position. So look at that word lead. Lead is a verb for leader. Perhaps is another word for maybe. And look how we have used it. We have had a little pause after responsibility, and then we've said perhaps in a management position, just to give a little bit more information. I enjoy working with people and overcoming problems, so I think a role like that would suit me well. So overcome, if you overcome a problem, that means you solve the problem, you fix the problem, you resolve the problem. Suit. No, suit does not mean what you can see the man down the bottom wearing with a briefcase. No, if something suits you, it goes with you well. It's appropriate for you. It's suitable for you. And finally, let's look at the last sentence. Right now, I'm taking steps to make sure I'm completely prepared for when that opportunity comes around. So taking steps is another way to just say doing something. So taking steps could be maybe learning. It could be getting job experience. It's a great way to say that you're actually doing something. So again, have a look at this answer. It's not too long, not too short, and it's a complete and full answer. Question 4. How do you feel after you finish a day at work? This seems like a pretty simple question, right? But let's have a look at an example answer. Well, I typically feel quite drained. Most students would just say, I feel tired, but we have used higher level vocabulary. Typically means normally, and drained means you have no energy left, so maybe you're quite tired. And also, note here how we have started with a shorter sentence. There is nothing wrong with using shorter sentences sometimes, but you need to balance them with some longer sentences as well. Yes, it's satisfying to know I've completed my tasks and made progress, but sometimes the workload can be a bit exhausting. So we are showing the examiner that we know lots of different words instead of saying tired. Firstly, we have said drained. Secondly, we have said exhausting. And also, look how we have used the word satisfying. If something is satisfying, it means it makes you feel quite good. Progress, that means you're moving forward. Workload, that just means work, how much work you have to do. I always rush home in the evening so I can recharge for the next day. which I do by listening to some music and reading a good book. So rush home means you try to get home very quickly and have a rest so the next day you have more energy. And note here that after next day, we don't just stop. We have a comma or we have a pause, and then we give more information by saying which. Remember, if it's appropriate, always try and give more information. This is going to allow you to use higher level grammar structures, a larger variety of grammar structures, and it will also allow you to use higher level vocabulary. So have a look at this answer one more time, and you'll see that it's a very nice answer, not too long, not too short, and there's some nice grammar and nice vocabulary. Now it's practice time. So you've been listening to me talk, 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 talk. So now it's time for you to practice. I'm going to show you each of the 4 questions that we looked at in this lesson, and I would like you to try and give an answer for 20 seconds for each answer. Are you ready? Let's go and good luck. 3, 2, 1. Now I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Do you work or are you a student? How do you normally travel to work? What job would you like to do 5 years from now? How do you feel after you finish a day at work? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.